and welcome to the Grow and Go podcast. My name's Claire, and today I am joined by Dr Merryn Netting. Merryn is a paediatric dietitian with over 30 years' experience working with families, babies and young children at the Women's and Children's Hospital in Adelaide. She specialises in allergies and now works for the National Allergy Council. The National Allergy Council aims to reduce the impact of allergies on the Australian community and health system. It is funded by the Federal Government Department of Health and Aged Care and is a partnership between the Australasian Society of Clinical Immunology and Allergy and the consumer organisation Allergy and Anaphylaxis Australia. This is episode 1 of 2 with Merryn, and in this episode we're going to be discussing what food allergies are, common allergy-causing foods, how they're caused, and treatment and management of food allergies. This podcast was recorded on the lands of the Yuggera and Turrbal people, and we pay our respects to their elders past and present. So hi Merryn, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks Claire, thanks for having me.
So I wanted to start off, first of all, just asking you if you can explain to our listeners the difference between what a food allergy and a food intolerance is.
A food allergy is a reaction caused by the immune system. Usually what happens is the immune system reacts to a food, usually a protein in the food, that's harmless for most people. But for people with allergies, when that food is eaten, the immune system releases a large amount of chemicals that cause all sorts of symptoms that can affect a person's breathing or their heart, skin or their gut. And some food allergies can be really severe and they can cause potentially life-threatening allergic reaction known as anaphylaxis. Food allergies are different to intolerances. Intolerances are not caused by the immune system. Often they're issues in the gut that can cause problems with digestion of a food. So, for example, for cow's milk, a cow's milk intolerance or lactose intolerance is caused by a reaction to the carbohydrate in the milk, so lactose, when it's not absorbed properly, whereas a cow's milk or a dairy allergy is a reaction to the protein, the cow's milk protein.
Awesome. Thank you for that. I think that's a really tricky one to have a good understanding of the differences between the two and then potentially what that means when it comes to managing them and the risks that are involved. Could you outline for us what are the more common allergy-causing foods that we come across? Particularly, I'm thinking when we're starting to introduce them to little ones for the first time, what are we watching for?
So in Australia, there are 11 foods that cause most of the allergic reactions, although you can be allergic to any food. So the most common allergy-causing foods are cow's milk or dairy and soy, egg, peanut, tree nut, sesame, fish, crustaceans, mollusks, wheat and lupin. I think I've got them all there.
There's quite a list to be thinking about. And I think I wouldn't be wrong in saying that we're seeing quite a lot more young children with allergies now. Am I right saying that?
Yes, that's a real thing. When I was at school, which was a long time ago in the 70s, it was really unusual to have friends that had food allergies. But in Australia now, food allergy is very common. And our research shows us that about 1 in 10 babies have a food allergy, 1 in 20 school-aged children and 1 in 50 adults. So food allergy is pretty common.
Do you have any insights into why that is?
Oh, that's the $1 million question. It's if I had $1 for every time I was asked that question, and I wish we had an answer. It's a very complicated thing, but there are probably a lot of things that affect your tendency to develop food allergy. Part of it is when we feed our babies the allergy-causing foods. So we know now that including allergy-causing foods like egg and peanut in the diet regularly from when babies are around 6 months of age, will lessen the likelihood of your baby having an allergy at 5 years of age. The other thing that's really important is really good skin care if your baby's at risk of eczema. So managing their skin really, really well. And there are probably things that we don't understand yet about your diet when you're pregnant, and also the effect of our microbiome in the way that it influences our tendency to develop allergy. So not a simple answer to the question.
No, not at all. Very complex, as almost everything to do with health seems to be. And then I suppose the thing that would be good to talk about here is how do we treat food allergies? Like if you find out that your little one's got one, what's the steps and processes that happen in helping you manage that?
Yeah, so if you think your baby is showing signs of an allergic reaction, you need to talk to your GP and get an appointment to see an allergist so that you can get a proper diagnosis, because we don't want babies avoiding foods unnecessarily. And once a food allergy is diagnosed, we treat that by avoiding the food or the foods that the baby's allergic to. So it's really important that families and other caregivers know how to recognise that allergy-causing food and how to read a food label so that they can, if they're using commercial foods, that they aren't accidentally giving the food with the allergen in it. Families also need to know how to recognise and treat a reaction if it happens. And in Australia, we use an ASCIA action plan, which outlines what to do in case there is a reaction. And that usually includes how to use an adrenaline injector. So there's quite a lot around managing a food allergy. At the moment in Australia, you will have heard that there's a lot of research around treatment for food allergy to offer a cure. And there's lots of interest in that. We'd love to be able to offer cures for food allergy. But at the moment, that's really in a research sort of setting. And we hope that in, maybe 5 years' time, we can start to roll that out. But it really depends on what the results of all the studies are showing.
Indeed. Interesting times. And I suppose just coming back to managing those allergies for the families, it sounds like quite a stressful thing to have to look for this potential allergen everywhere and be considerate of it all the time and quite vigilant around it. I can imagine that's quite a stress for families to cope with.
Oh, absolutely. Especially if you've seen your young child have a severe allergic reaction, it can be very stressful and cause a lot of anxiety. So if you think about how often children and young children especially eat a food, so you have to think about every drink, every meal, every snack, and make sure that the food is the right food for your baby. And it can be very hard for families to, pass over that care of their baby to other family members, especially if they don't have a lot of experience managing food allergy. Because the family members need to understand, what are the right foods to provide the child, but also what to do if they do have an allergic reaction while they're in their care.
Indeed. And I think the other setting that must start to really affect is when we think about little ones going into daycares at young ages as well, and the involvement of those educators in their care as well.
Yeah, well, it's a lot, isn't it? So you think about, if your own children were starting childcare, mine didn't have allergies, but, adding allergies on top of that, it's a very anxiety-provoking time. And I've certainly had clients who've delayed their return to work. Because of their child's food allergy. But I've also had others who have returned to work and have worked really well with their childcare centre and have had excellent treatment and care.
So thank you so much, Merryn, for joining me today. It's been a very interesting conversation. I encourage everyone to go and check out the foodallergyeducation.org.au website for more information on food allergies. Look out for our next episode on allergy management strategies for the early education setting. For more episodes and to access hundreds of free resources to support your centre and families, visit the Grow and Go Toolbox at growandgotoolbox.com. Check us out on social media on Instagram and Facebook for regular tips on feeding the under fives. We would like to acknowledge the Commonwealth Department of Health and Aged Care for funding the Toolbox and the University of Queensland for supporting this project.